We are kicking off with WWE, and in just a few days, the draft will start on SmackDown, but the company may have already revealed a couple of huge moves from Raw to the Blue brand. Recently, WWE updated the Raw banner on the website, and when comparing the previous Raw banner to the new one, both Drew McIntyre and Gunther have been replaced. McIntyre has had his spot filled by the man who dethroned him at WrestleMania 40, Damian Priest, while Gunther's spot has been taken by Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn. WWE often updates their show banners after the draft or other major happenings, and it's possible that someone was a bit too eager to change and accidentally spoiled some moves. We'll only know for certain once the draft concludes during next week's episode of Monday Night Raw, but don't be surprised to see the Scotsman and the Austrian on Team Blue very soon. Do you think McIntyre and Gunther would do better on SmackDown? And who else would you like to see be moved in the draft? Give your picks in the comments section. Over to AEW Dynasty as Bryan Danielson took on Will Ospreay in arguably the match of the night, but the American Dragon also faced a serious injury risk. Ospreay got the win after using the hidden blade to the back of the neck of Bryan, who was out cold and landed scarily on his neck in the ring. AEW's medical team rushed to check on Danielson and put a brace on his neck, which is hardly a good sign for the veteran who was out for too long after the match. Injury scare aside, this match saw one of the best of this generation against one of the best to ever do it, so expectations for such a match were understandably sky high. In St. Louis, a city steeped with wrestling history, the pair delivered a Match of the Year candidate and started with the two launching themselves out of their respective corners. After the match, Ospreay checked on Bryan, continuing the story that he cares too much for his opponents and has too much respect to be a part of Don Callis' family. Don Callis planted the seeds for a split with Ospreay at multiple points during this match as he watched from commentary and insinuated that Will is a liar and stupid without actually saying it. This is all setting up Ospreay's split from the group, and in an update on Bryan, Fightful Select reports that his injury scare was part of the show. It's good news that Bryan didn't suffer a real neck injury, but he and Ospreay will certainly be feeling worse for wear after their war in St. Louis. Dynasty also saw the FTW Championship on the line as Hook lost the gold that his father introduced decades ago to none other than Chris Jericho. Given the FTW rules stipulation, this match was pretty brutal and saw Jericho hit back-to-back Judas effects and use a baseball bat to the face to win and end Hook's 8-month title reign. Hook had won the title back from Jack Perry at All In 2023, and the decision to take the gold off of him is questionable at this time. Hook was organically getting over with fans, and losing to Jericho, a legend to be sure, though one in his 50s, doesn't exactly do the young 24-year-old star any favors. If this title change was done to elevate Hook into the world title picture, it'd possibly be forgiven, but that seems unlikely given that Hook previously lost his title match to Samoa Joe. Now Hook is at risk of easily losing direction if his character is not handled carefully with this loss, and while Jericho is a legend, he's hardly in need of any title win. Instead, many suggest Jericho should be doing more to put over young talents to give back to the business, rather than take spots that could benefit others for himself. Other than Hook, Jericho has defeated young talents like Konosuke Takeshita and Sammy Guevara in the past, which has resulted in fan backlash against him and his booking. If Jericho still wishes to wrestle, then Tony Khan should book him wisely, and fans did not take long to express their disapproval of the title change at Dynasty. The fans in attendance were certainly no fan of Jericho getting the win once again over a younger, promising talent, with "Please Retire" chants filling the arena. There was also "Go Home Jericho" and "Fozzy Sucks," and an eruption of boos when Jericho pinned Hook to win the gold, as fans don't want to see him take a younger star's spotlight. Jericho's run in AEW had impressed people in the beginning, but over time has been one of the more bigger criticisms of the star in recent years. In the past, Jericho has taken breaks when his on-screen shtick grows stale, and has returned with an evolved character, but in AEW, he hasn't taken many breaks at all. Similarly, his character evolution has, in many ways, happened without much sense, and this also hasn't gone unnoticed by fans. From outstanding feuds with MJF to fans chanting "Please Retire" at a Legend of the Ring, it's certainly been a fall from grace for the inaugural AEW World Champion. Whether fans like it or not, Jericho is the new FTW champion, and we'll have to see what his reign does for Jericho after a title change many feel was a mistake from Tony Khan. But what do you make of Jericho's win? Are you of the opinion that he should step away, or are you happy to see the FTW title change hands? Let us know down below. Last week, WWE embarked on its first tour of the UK in this new era, and it's hardly a secret that the fans of the UK are some of the most passionate and loud groups in the world. Now, backstage details have come to light about the tour, and the recent show in London's O2 Arena has proven to be an extra notable hit with those in WWE. The event saw Drew McIntyre continue to work through the injury he suffered at WrestleMania and defeat Jey Uso, who he faced on all 4 nights of the tour. For the London event on April 19th, McIntyre grabbed the mic and spotted Manchester United legend Wayne Rooney sitting in the front row. McIntyre said that from one sporting legend to another, Rooney was the man during his days on the pitch, but couldn't help take a swing at the player turned manager. McIntyre roasted Rooney by noting that both of them are 38 years old and asked, "Aren't we the same age? What the hell happened to you?" Which prompted laughs from Rooney and the fans. Rooney's sporting credentials are undisputed, as he won 5 English Premier League titles with Man U and also secured a Champions League trophy with the team as well. After retiring from play, Rooney turned to managing, but has been far less successful and was ousted from Birmingham City after the team won just 2 of his 15 matches in charge. Nevertheless, Rooney is a legend, and this was a fun interaction with McIntyre, which was just part of the exciting night for fans at the O2. The show also saw title matches as World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest defended against Xavier Woods. In an instant classic, Sami Zayn retained his Intercontinental title against Chad Gable, Gunther, and Finn Balor, while Cody Rhodes defended the WWE Gold against Shinsuke Nakamura. The live event was WWE's biggest non-TV event in a long time, as it's been reported that over 16,000 fans packed the O2 for a house show. PW Insider adds that the fans were described as extremely rabid and wild for their first show since October of last year, and the superstars were all for this energy. Multiple WWE talents noted that the live event was one of their most favorite shows to work on in a long time, and the reason was that the crowd made things extremely fun for everyone. WWE will return to the UK this June for Clash at the Castle Scotland, and if this tour is anything to go by, expect another packed house full with rabid WWE fans in Glasgow later this year. Had Drew McIntyre not taunted CM Punk at WrestleMania 40, he'd likely be the World Heavyweight Champion right now, as Punk's attack opened the window for Damian Priest. If McIntyre had simply left the ring and headed to the back after beating Seth Rollins, Priest wouldn't have cashed in Philly, but that was never going to happen, according to Drew. In a video on Twitter, McIntyre explained why he didn't just leave, saying that the win at WrestleMania was his moment and that he wasn't going to scurry away when it happened. McIntyre admitted that he might have gotten carried away when he taunted CM Punk at ringside, but argued that Punk didn't attack him until he was distracted. Drew had been waiting for years to get a title win in front of fans and finally got it in Philly, and the Scottish Warrior wanted to relish in it, even if that act cost him everything at WrestleMania. In the main event of AEW Dynasty, Swerve Strickland became the first black AEW World Champion with a win over Samoa Joe and the ushering in of a new era. The crowd were overwhelmingly behind Strickland, and the Swerve's House chant that started all the way back on the pre-show were loud and proud during the main event. Prince Nana bestowed upon Strickland a robe previously worn by the late Jimmy Rave, one of the manager's clients in the original Ring of Honor. Strickland was able to weather the storm of Joe's attempts to overwhelm him, but it was a second top rope double stomp that secured the win for Swerve. St. Louis erupted for Strickland, adding to the moment and ensuring that everyone involved knew the result was the right one, and Joe, ever the professional, rolled out of the ring. Joe headed up the ramp to give Strickland the spotlight, as a well-deserved spotlight given the work he's done to come back from the mid-card and evolve into the new AEW World Champion. The landscape of AEW witnessed a major shocker during the end of the international title match that saw Roderick Strong defend against former friend Kyle O'Reilly at Dynasty. The pair delivered an exceptional match, which comes only recently after O'Reilly returned from a serious injury, but he didn't show any ring rust as the pair captivated the crowd in St. Louis. Despite Kyle O'Reilly's best efforts, Roderick Strong, backed by the Undisputed Kingdom faction, was able to overcome his former ally and get the pinfall to retain his title. As Strong celebrated, Adam Cole, the group's leader, emerged in his wheelchair on the entrance stage, but to everyone's surprise, he got up from the chair and headed straight to the ring. There, Cole congratulated Strong on his win, also revealing that he is healed up from his injury and ready to take over AEW with the Undisputed Kingdom. Cole's time in AEW has been mired with injuries, but now the All-In headliner is fully healed, and what do you think will be next? Let us know in the comments. Last week, Zion Quinn was amongst those released by WWE, and while he can't wrestle until his 90-day non-compete clause is up, he can still fight. On Instagram, Quinn recently shared a video of himself in a bar fight which started when a patron spilled their drink on the former NXT superstar. Quinn pretended it was fine before proceeding to beat up the man and his friends, and this all seems to be teasing a new, more unhinged side to Zion Quinn. Fans commenting on the video also seemed interested in the change, and as Cody Rhodes, Matt Cardona, and others have shown, a WWE exit could be a blessing in disguise for Quinn. It was high stakes in women's action at AEW Dynasty as TBS champion Julia Hart put her title on the line against the incomparable Willow Nightingale. These two have had run-ins for weeks, and with Mercedes Moné watching the match from backstage, it was clear that this match would see the winner face Moné at Double or Nothing. With the title and Moné hanging in the balance, Hart and Nightingale went back and forth against each other in one of the most enthralling matches of the night. This was a showdown of Willow's strength against Hart's technical prowess, and in the end, it was Nightingale who got the win and the TBS championship for the first time in her career. As she celebrated her win, Moné came out to confront her first opponent, with whom she has a lot of history herself, and Willow will be defending her newly won title at AEW's next pay-per-view. It's been just over a month since Mercedes Moné made her AEW debut at the Big Business Dynamite, and since then, the CEO has been involved in the TBS title picture. Moné has made clear she will challenge for the gold at Double or Nothing, but some pundits in the industry haven't been impressed by her AEW run thus far. On the latest Keepin' It 100 podcast, Conan didn't hold back when he assessed AEW bringing in Moné, Will Ospreay, and Kazuchika Okada last month. He said, "Well, the thing is, you spend a lot of money, we don't know how much, on Okada, right? He means absolutely nothing. As for Ospreay, spent a lot of money on Ospreay, I won't say he means nothing, but so far, you haven't really gotten a return on him, which you should be getting immediately. And Moné's probably been the biggest failure of all. Another bad promo. Do you not see that she's not good on the mic, live or backstage? Disco and I, have been saying this about her since she was in WWE. We like her look, we like her wrestling, her swag. She's not good on the mic, and she comes off like a heel." Moné is the highest paid woman in AEW, but is not earning anywhere close to the $5 million figure once reported. And what do you make of her run with the All Elite promotion so far? As we reported yesterday, Matt Hardy appeared in the closing moments of TNA Rebellion and attacked Moose, seemingly starting a program with the reigning TNA World Champion. TNA is where Hardy had the peak of his singles success as a two-time world champion, but this appearance doesn't mean Matt will be with TNA for the long term. On Twitter, Matt explained that he is still a free agent and is exploring his options, so don't count out the veteran appearing elsewhere, despite his emphatic TNA return last week. Sami Callihan also made his TNA return at Rebellion as he leveled the playing field for Jordynne Grace when her opponent Steph DeLander received some outside help. With Callihan and PCO keeping the good hands and Khan at bay, Grace retained the TNA Knockouts World Championship, but what does the future hold for Callihan? PW Insider has reported that Sami Callihan remains with Major League Wrestling despite his recent return to TNA and is expected to appear for both companies. Between 2017 to 2019, Callihan appeared for MLW and Impact Wrestling, and now the Death Machine is ready to keep busy once more across both promotions. Back to Dynasty, and there was a title unification during the 0-hour pre-show as the ROH World Six-Man titles merged with the AEW Trios Championships. The match saw the Bang Bang Gang face the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, and when the dust was settled, it was Jay White and his allies who left St. Louis with all the gold. White seized an opportunity to strike Billy Gunn with a bat while the ref was distracted, but the Acclaimed fought back and hit the 310 to Yuma to almost get the win. In the end, though, it was a decisive Blade Runner to Gunn that sealed the deal, as the Bang Bang Gang now reign over both AEW and ROH as the unified World Trios Champions. In a ladder match to crown the next AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR and the Young Bucks held nothing back, but it was the return of an infamous star that proved to make the difference. As the two teams came face to face, loud CM Punk chants filled the arena, which would prove to be an omen of what was to come later in the match. As Dax Harwood climbed, a masked man pushed him off the ladder and was quickly grabbed by security, who unmasked the smirking Jack Perry. The fans were shocked to see Perry, and amid this chaos, the Bucks were able to win the match and become record-breaking 3-time tag team champions. For some time, the Bucks have teased aligning with Perry and praised him before airing the All In footage, and after 8 months away, the scapegoat is back with AEW. Dynasty was a good night for the Elite as Kazuchika Okada was able to retain the Continental title against Pac and worked over the head and neck of his challenger. After Pac's Black Arrow was met with knees to the face, Okada hit him with the Rainmaker in a match that maximized every last second of its near 30-minute runtime. This was probably the best presentation of Okada to this point because it did not include the Young Bucks nonsense, while Pac really stood out here, but it was the Rainmaker who emerged on top. In 6-man tag team action, Adam Copeland teamed with Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe to face the House of Black, and in a surprise, it was the heels who got the win. Not only did the House of Black win, but it was Copeland who took the pin for his team, as he was caught by the Black Mist from Malachi Black. With this win, one has to think that Black will be in line for a TNT title match, as the Dutchman could finally be on his way to singles gold in AEW. After his WWE contract expired in 2022, Bill Goldberg said he was on the hunt for one final match in wrestling, and for a brief moment, it appeared the match would be in AEW. Following Double or Nothing 2023, Tony Khan said he'd had talks with Goldberg and had a good relationship with him, saying it wouldn't be that unusual to see his last match in an AEW ring. Well, it now appears that this relationship has changed, as during an interview with 93.7 The Ticket, Goldberg was asked about joining AEW and wasn't interested in the idea. He said, "I've talked to him a number of times throughout the past, but you know, and this is where you're gonna get the most blunt answer you're gonna get from me. The product is too cheesy. The product is too cheesy. It doesn't deserve to have, whatever. Now you're really gonna get me going, but if there was a comparable viable option as a competitor that would allow me to still look myself in the mirror after I was a member of their roster, yeah, then it would be a consideration, but not a chance." Goldberg may still have his final match, but fans shouldn't expect it at an AEW event. And what do you make to his strong words for the company? Let us know in the comments down below. At one time, Tessa Blanchard was poised to become one of the top women in professional wrestling, and even became the first woman to hold the TNA World Championship. Her career was derailed following accusations of bullying and using a racial slur against La Rosa Negra, and since departing TNA, she hasn't been featured in a major US promotion. That could be about to change, as PW Insider Elite reports that preliminary discussions have taken place within TNA regarding Blanchard's return. While these discussions indicate a potential interest in Blanchard's return, there's no confirmation that TNA has reached out to her directly at this time. Blanchard has tried to be a better person and has made amends with La Rosa Negra, and we'll have to wait and see if Blanchard's return to TNA does indeed happen. More from TNA, as the promotion's Rebellion event was a night full of action, and this has led to 2 wrestlers on the roster being deemed not cleared to compete. Gia Miller was on hand to report that Eric Young sustained a severe laceration to his ear during his Full Metal Mayhem match against Kazarian, but has received prompt medical attention. A plastic surgeon successfully reattached his ear, and the injury happened when Young caught the edge of the table after taking a top rope flux capacitor, and he's not cleared to wrestle. Brian Myers is also on the sidelines after suffering a shoulder injury when he and Eddie Edwards defended the TNA World Tag titles against Speedball Mountain. Myers will undergo an MRI to evaluate the damage, and he won't be wrestling until more information is available. Despite their brutal last man standing match, Josh Alexander and Hammerstone are cleared to compete, despite Alexander suffering a severe ear laceration and contusion to the ear. Clearly, the TNA roster held nothing back at Rebellion, and while this made for a great show, it also left the roster feeling worse for wear. We've got news from Major League Wrestling now, as the recent War Chamber 2 event saw The Calling, a group initially led by Raven, taking on the Death Fighters. Fans of the show got a massive surprise then when Raven made his in-ring return at the event after nearly 5 years, but he sided with the Death Fighters instead of The Calling. Raven had an impressive showing in the match, which saw the Death Fighters triumph, and while this was likely a one-off, the ECW legend certainly held his own at War Chamber 2. Recently, Ronda Rousey has been critical of WWE and her tenure with the promotion, and during her comments, Logan Paul's name came up. Rousey said how Paul benefits from extended rehearsal time, which helps him put on outstanding matches, and was frustrated this time wasn't extended to everyone in WWE. The former women's champion said that her debut match was successful because she had weeks to prepare with top minds in WWE, and her comments caught the attention of Paul. On the BS with Jake Paul podcast, Logan was asked about Rousey's remarks and doesn't see her comments as a direct attack on him. He explained, "I have a lot of respect for Ronda Rousey. Every time I've met her, it's been very amicable. So when she's saying that, I don't think it's like a personal attack on me by any means. I don't feel she's coming after me. I feel she's maybe using me as an example to express her dissatisfaction with maybe how she was treated in WWE, but I can't speak on that because I don't know how she was treated." It's very mature of Paul to recognize that Rousey's comments stem from her own issues with WWE rather than any personal beef with him. Rousey isn't planning on returning to WWE unless serious changes are made, but she's ready to speak her mind about the company, no matter what fans or those in wrestling may have to say. During the most recent AEW Rampage, Yuka Sakazaki had a nasty spill from the apron to the outside during her match with Emi Sakura. On Twitter, a fan shared a clip of the fall and said that Yuka was trying to tell referee Bryce Remsburg that she was hurt, but Remsburg missed what she was trying to say. This accusation led to a swift response from Bryce himself, who said that what the fan claimed was not true, that the fan wasn't there, and didn't know what was said at the time. Remsburg has called some of AEW's biggest matches and has had a stellar record with the company, and we're pleased that any talk mid-match didn't go unnoticed by the official. Back to Dynasty as the show saw Trent Beretta defeat Matt Sydal on the pre-show, while Katsuyori Shibata and Orange Cassidy defeated Shane Taylor Promotions. On the main show, Toni Storm retained the Women's World title from Thunder Rosa as the Timeless One keeps her title reign alive.